Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on this Wednesday, April 24th. We are 1 day away from the second major of the season. It's the first MPO major of the year. It's the Champions Cup. It's taking place at Northwood Park in Peoria, Illinois. Josh, much to get to. We've got an exciting preview and hopefully help some folks make high-quality picks. We're going a little deeper than normal. But first, I think it's important that we go back to the Music City Open weekend because, Josh, one thing we did not touch on in yesterday's episode, which we did touch on in our Rapid Reacts, and then just basically, to be honest, forgot to cover it again because we'd already talked about it in the Rapid Reacts, was the suspension of play due to the threat that was sent in to Natalie Ryan that caused play to be suspended for about 90 minutes during round two as the Pro Tour sorted through with police kind of how to proceed. And so, just the nuts and bolts, I was actually in the booth. We were getting ready to do the show, and we were informed maybe 20 minutes before we were going to be going on the air that this had happened, that there was a threat to Natalie if she were to tee off round two. That specific threat itself has not been disclosed, like what it said. But my understanding is that it was specifically targeted towards Natalie and not necessarily like something that was like to the entire event, or if there was something to the entire event that was insinuated more than it was specified. So the Pro Tour was working to get police or further security involved prior to Natalie's tee time. When they determined that wasn't going to be possible to be ready to go before the tee time, they suspended play maybe 5-10 minutes before that tee time. And then after consulting with police, kind of clearing the course, putting some new safety protocols in place, they then resumed the tournament about 90 minutes later. As has been discussed ad nauseum online, the communication about all of this was a little bit vague. It was a little bit, even on the ground, players, I think, were not necessarily happy with the communication from the Pro Tour. It was like a lot of things going on, all kind of at the last minute, which is perhaps to be expected given the nature of the situation. Ultimately, there was a police officer following Natalie's card. They started doing sporadic bag checks at check-in. That seemed to be stricter on day 3 of the tournament than on day 2 of the tournament. But there was not like metal detectors or anything like that. So, Josh, I'm just curious, you were just following along from home. How did you take all of this in?
I actually, so I jumped on to go watch the FPO and saw scores weren't updating. Nothing was really changing. Went over, saw somewhere on one of the socials that play had been suspended for about 90 minutes. And then it wasn't for about another 30 minutes that it came out that it was a threat against the event. And it wasn't until after the event that I learned that threat was targeted towards Natalie Ryan. Here's kind of my thoughts about this, though. Number one is I don't think that, I think the Pro Tour shared exactly and did exactly as much communication as was necessary. I don't think it, I think that if there was a question of greater safety, then they would have, let me start with let me not bury the lead. I think the Pro Tour did a good job handling this. I think that this is an ever-evolving situation that is very difficult to kind of comprehend. And I think they did, all in all, a pretty effective job at ensuring that they were taking the necessary steps to bring in outside assistance in determining the level of this threat. And it was handled in a manner that I believe was quite appropriate. And I can't even imagine the difficulty of trying to deal with this, not only just speaking logistically, but also the stress and concern that you have for the competitors and the spectators at this event. So all in all, I think from my perspective, I think the Pro Tour did a pretty good job. Now, what I would like to see Regardless of where you fall on this issue of like Natalie Ryan participating in FPO, there should be no space for violence and hate that I think is seen too frequently online. And that kind of like hateful comments are what lead to things like threats being made, whether legitimate or not legitimate. Like that is a direct consequence. And I would like to see the Pro Tour continue to insist and decry hateful comments towards Natalie Ryan. I want to see a continued, call from everybody in the disc golf community to decry violent and hateful speech that leads to incidences like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's patently obvious to anybody that this is a terrible situation that should never be happening, regardless of any feelings about any of this stuff. I mean, the whole temperature of the issue needs to come down.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the Pro Tour's approach so far has mostly been avoidance, turning off comments on YouTube, things like that. And they moderate their forums like on Facebook and stuff. But my God, like it's so toxic around this issue. And then we get this. And I think for the most part, even people who disagree strongly, even that Natalie should not be allowed to play, realize that this is way totally crazy over the top. But I still see people online being like half justifying it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, well, you know, they should have known if you play with fire like this, that something like this might happen. Like, shut the F up. Clown take, garbage take. You have no idea what you're talking about. How can you possibly say something like that? Imagine if something were to happen and someone were to be actually hurt. What an unbelievably god-awful way of looking at the world that is. Like, it's really just not that serious, folks. We're playing sports. There's questions about fairness. I get that. And it's, I mean, how many times do we have to say it? Like, this is not disc golf's fight to fight. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. They already tried, and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. Like, to me, I didn't find this whole thing to be all that serious because I think, in general, I'm an optimist, and I think it's far more likely, probably 95%, that this is some idiot somewhere nowhere close to this tournament who is just like way too heated up about this thing and like is bluffing. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the Pro Tour has to take it seriously.
Yes.
Of course. But the problem is, and it's not just about this event, this is just in general, the Pro Tour is not equipped at this point to seriously enforce security in a way that would actually deter somebody coming with a weapon. Like, bag check? No. That's not, like, unless you're wanding people or putting them through a metal detector, you're not seriously deterring somebody from bringing a weapon. And, like, is it a realistic consideration that the Pro Tour is going to go from 5 years ago where you could walk onto the fairways with nobody checking anything to then now we're going to have, like, armed security, metal detectors, etc. Like, I genuinely don't think the money is there for them to do something like that. And so we are in a situation where if somebody wanted to do something awful, there's not that much you can do because of the scale of the sport right now. Now, I do think this fundamentally changes the way the Pro Tour thinks about security at events. Like, I really don't think this was something they were thinking much about. They didn't used to check your bags. Mm-mm. I mean, I was there at Music City Open. I went to go to the main parking area to go to like Vendor Village and get lunch. Nobody ever checked anything. Like, there was a person at the parking lot kind of directing traffic, but nobody wanted to see my badge. I mean, I had a DGN shirt on, but like, there's just not really that much security, you know?
Right.
I think that will change. But on the other hand, like, I'm not exactly sure what the Pro Tour can do given the resources that it has. And it's really, I mean, you know, do we want to end up going through airport security at disc golf events?
Well, and it's not even like, I get that there's more security, but are you telling me that there's an offense somewhere at Northwood Park I couldn't just jump and bypass?
Oh yeah, I mean, it would have been incredibly easy to walk onto this Music City course.
Yeah,
there were multiple locations where you they had to figure out how to block the entrances for cars.
Yeah,
because there's multiple places to drive into the park, and they were not prepared for any of that. It would have been incredibly easy for somebody to just walk onto the course.
And that's not going to change for a ton of our courses, right? Most of our courses are not
for many years.
Well-controlled facilities. And
right.
You can get adjacent even to courses, but basically every course. So yeah, I agree. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I think just at the level we're at, security is not, that's not a feasible option. The cost of paying for private security or off-duty officers is incredibly expensive. And let alone, especially for the level of security that you would need for this scale. It's a really disgusting situation, and I think the Pro Tour did a pretty good job with the resources that they had at their disposal.
I mean, I think the assessment was probably that it was a bluff, and that's why play resumed.
Yeah.
They consulted with police. They completely took everybody off the course. I get it. Some players were upset with the level of communication. I think there were people who were nervous about, staying in the RV area where Natalie was staying overnight. And I understand that. Especially when you don't know what was said or how credible it was. It's a scary situation, but man, does this ever speak to people needing to just calm down about this issue? It's not that serious. It's not. It's sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that serious.
Yeah.
It's just, and to me, it's been ratcheting up and ratcheting up and ratcheting up, and people need to ratchet down.
Yep, I completely agree.
Let's talk Champions Cup.
Okay.
Hopefully nothing like this happens again. I also think it was important that the Pro Tour continued and they played the tournament out. I think that's important. You can't let somebody calling in some bozo bluff derail your whole tournament. And so they did the right thing. They assessed the situation, they got police involved, and they resumed. And they will be better prepared for something like this moving forward, so that some jerk off who just wants to disrupt things can't do that.
I wonder, does the Pro Tour notify local police that these events are happening? Beyond the extent that they're probably getting permits for the event?
I assume that there is some communication there, at least through the city.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Good question. All right, Champions Cup. Let's move on. We got some fun stuff today. We're going to take a look at some questions. Obviously, we're going to make our picks, all that good stuff. But I think it might be nice to start. Josh and I took the time to take a look at how people played Northwood Black over the last 2 seasons. Par was the same. The course had only minor changes between 2022 and 2023. Now, as we know, as Nate Heinel told us yesterday, we're not playing full Northwood Black. It is mostly Northwood Black with a couple of holes from the gold layout. So let's start in FPO. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'll put it up on the screen. Here's a list of players' average results from last year on Northwood, from 2022, and then an average over the last 2 seasons. This is a per round average. Par was 68 for FPO. And your top of the list, Missy Gannon and Kristen Tattar tied at 64.5. Well, actually, I take that back. Missy is number 1 at 64.5. Kristen did not play in 2023. So she shot an average of 65 in 2022. That was a stroke worse on average than Missy in 2022. And then you've got Owen Scoggins, Alexis Mondahano, and Ella Hansen in the top 5 at Northwood only. So this is not looking at Sunset at all. This is not looking at Ledgestone finish. This is just rounds at Northwood. So, Josh, no surprise to see our big three be the big three even here on this course.
Yep.
But is Missy Gannon the favorite because of how she's played, not just at Ledgestone, but specifically at Northwood over the last 2 seasons?
Right. So I love this question, and I really think that on this course in particular, there is a very interesting question here, and my answer to whether Missy's being the favorite really depends on what Kristen you think we're going to see. So for reference, in 2022, remember Kristen not playing the event in 2023, so I'm just looking at 2022's numbers. Missy shot a 64 and a 64, rounds 1 and 4. Kristen shot a 63 and a 67. So shoots a better round and ties for the hot round at the tournament. Alexis Manjado shot a 61 in that tournament. But shoots a better round than Missy, but also a worse round. I think Missy is probably going to shoot like a good score in both rounds, but probably not, I guess in multiple rounds. She will probably have the second or third best score in all 3 rounds. 4 rounds.
4 rounds.
4 rounds. 4 rounds.
4 rounds. Major.
Major. But I wouldn't be surprised if you have different players shoot the hot round and kind of surpass Missy there. If you go back then to 2023, this year Kristen did not play. Missy did shoot the hot round in round 1, and then Owen and Missy and Sarah all shot a 64 in round 2. So Missy has shot a 64 3 of the 4 rounds she's played in the past 2 years, and then a 66. So her window, very small. Very, very small.
Right.
Kristen's
consistently good.
Consistently good. Kristen's a little bit bigger. I think you're going to see major Kristen show up, and I think Kristen's going to shoot at least 2 really fantastic rounds, which leads me to think that that's going to be enough for Kristen. But I think this is probably the closest of any event this season that if you had to look at it and say, is Kristen the odds-on favorite, it may be tied with Missy.
Yeah, I mean, it's still yes. I think I was a little clickbait question
Sure.
to say Missy's the favorite, given Kristen's pedigree. But, I also think, coming off the win in the woods at U.S. Women's, Missy looked very good. She took last weekend off to get ready for this tournament. Kristen seems a little tired, a little ready to go home. And I just, she straight up did outplay her on Northwood 2 years ago.
Yep.
So I think this is a very interesting tournament because it sets up so well for Missy. And Kristen over 4 rounds is always going to have an advantage. She's just simply that much better than everybody else. And I don't care what course you put her on. But I think Missy has a very good chance to win. And wouldn't that be interesting, Josh? Wouldn't it be interesting if Missy was to take down 2 straight majors? I mean, I think she goes to the top of the Player of the Year list if she does that. She would be in front of Kristen for me.
Oh, yeah, has to be.
Kristen with 3 wins, but Missy with 2 majors. I think it could be a very interesting battle between those two. How about Ella Hansen? She, by the way, was Missy averages 65 last season on Northwood. Ella averages 66. Is she a sneaky pick here?
Yes, she's a sneaky pick to be in the lead or tied for the lead after 3 rounds. I don't know if she's a sneaky pick to win, though, because I just don't trust her in round 4. And that's the biggest problem I've got with Ella right now. She absolutely could have 3 hot rounds and still not win this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, rounding. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So here's the thing, and Ella shot well. I think if your sleeper pick has to be anybody, it's got to be Alexis Manjado. If you want a true sleeper pick. And let me give you the reason why. So last season, she did okay, 70, not excellent. but not bad. But her 63.5 at 2022 is the best of any of our rounds that we tracked, or any tournament performance that we tracked at Northwood Black. Shooting a 61, which is the best score we've seen out of FPO in either of the 2 years. I mean, just a stellar round. And to her credit, that the fact that, I mean, her biggest strength, and it's something that we've always known, is her putting. And if she is able to put together a couple really strong rounds and be in contention late, I have more confidence in strong putters in final rounds, even when they've not been there in that situation, because it means that they can lean on that skill. And that's typically the skill that falls apart for people, right? Most players, when they get in lead card situations and they start to fall apart, it's when their putting falls apart. I trust someone like Alexis to just lean into that putting and maybe be able to perform in a situation despite the lack of relative experience at that level. Big sleeper pick for me.
Let's take a look at MPO. You're not going to believe, who would you guess is number one on this list before we put it up on the screen? It's a great guess. He's number 2. Number 1 on the list is Paul Macbeth. He did not play Ledgestone last year, but in 2022, he averaged a 62, which means his average over the last 2 years is a 62. Ricky averaged 62.5. Although, to be fair, he shot a half stroke better per round than Paul in 2022. So arguably, Ricky is the answer.
Ricky should be the favorite here.
Kyle Klein is third at 63.75. Matty O at 64 average over 2 years. Andrew Marweed averaging 64.25. And then you've got Drew Gibson and Kevin Jones averaging 65. So again, we'll have the full top 10 up there on the YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe over there if you haven't already. So Josh, now note, Cole Dahlin doesn't make this list because he really did not play well here on Northwood in 2022.
Yep.
But he was fantastic last year. He shot a 59 in the first round at Northwood. He was the leader in 2023. Just want to note that. If you're looking for a reason to try to pick somebody. So what do you make of this? Macbeth and Rick at the top, and this is not from the last 5 years or 10 years. This is just the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well, Rick loves Ledgestone. he plays well here. He is a repeat winner, but as is Paul. I think you get a real benefit when you look at these courses for a couple of reasons for these two players. Number one, Paul has said that he likes the woods better. We know that's the case. And while it's easy to forget because he plays well everywhere, he isn't the furthest thrower, but he has an all-around game and a love of the woods that I think automatically is going to elevate him in tournaments at courses like Northwood. The other thing, though, that's important is Northwood Black. Yes, it's different than Northwood Gold, which was used to, the old iteration. But this course and this tournament has been, in the Ledgestone iteration, on tour for a really long time. It's one of those kind of OG tour events that has just been a continual event that Paul and Rick have played for over a decade. And there is experience that comes into play here in understanding how this course plays, the flow of this tournament, in a way that I think is going to strongly advantage those two players. Now, Lake Eureka is not in play. They both play really well there, but it's clear that they also play well at Northwood. I really like their chances for this tournament this year.
Especially because they both are looking pretty good coming off of Music City.
And here's what I'll say, Charlie. I think this is Rick's best chance to get another major.
Oh, yeah. You gotta like it. You gotta like him here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's the statistically best player at Northwood from recent history.
Yep.
And so I think it's very, very possible. I mean, Anthony Barella played terrible here last year on Northwood. He played a lot better in 2022.
Yep.
And I think, as we've seen, he's controlling slower discs with precision a lot better than he ever has before in his career. So I think, I wouldn't necessarily be scared off by the fact that he struggled here a year ago, but it would at least be in my mind that it hasn't necessarily been like a course where he's locked in. That said, I thought he was going to dominate it at Music City, and it didn't happen. So who knows? I mean, there's obviously all kinds of question marks. It's also a course where Simon has played well. So I'm sure he's a little bummed he's not going to be able to compete, given how well he played last weekend and the fact that he's done well here at Northwood. Gave you the top 7 there. Some other wood specialists up here. You got Casey White. He's up in the top 10. Calvin has played well here, but again, I know with no forehand, he's unpickable on woods courses, I think, to win a tournament.
Unable to scramble, he's going to get pinched left side of that fairway, and he's going to have to throw a ugly, super skippy, aggressive hyzer. It's just not ideal. You're just bleeding strokes because of it. And over 4 rounds, that adds up.
Yeah. But, interesting, no Gannon up at the top, no Anthony Barella up at the top. This feels like a Kyle Klein, Nicholas Antila, who's never played here, by the way.
Yep.
Ricky, Paul, wood specialists, like Andrew Marweed. Those are the players to look to here, and maybe not your power throwers. Although, I certainly won't be surprised if we see Gannon and AB up at the top. You can't be surprised.
I think it's what makes this major so interesting, and whether it's at W.R. Jackson or Northwood, because you have early season heavy hitters who've been playing really well and who you kind of expected, Gannon, etc. You just said the list, and then you have to drop in all those other players, shake up the bag, and see what comes out. Last year, it was an Isaac Robinson that got pulled. Who knows who it'll be this year? I mean, like you said, it really could be any of those wood specialists, in addition to the guys currently at the top of the Pro Tour standings. So this is. Let me just come back real quick. What a great major! What a great decision by the PDGA to put a springtime wooded major.
They've tried to blunder it as much as possible, but the baseline choice of creation of a 4th major in the spring and in a really tough, excellent wooded course, it's great.
It's great.
You're right. You're right. And this doesn't have the cachet of a Worlds or a US DGC.
Not yet.
But I'm fired up.
I am too.
I care a lot more about what happens at this tournament than I cared about the Music City Open.
well, Charlie.
By the way, I don't think either of us really mentioned this, but that's easily the worst FPO track that we've played. This season, and it may be the worst course on tour right now.
I think so.
They need to make some serious changes to that course if they want to keep that event there and on tour. I think Nashville's a great location. I thought spectators were pretty solid.
That was true.
But man, that course was brutal.
Especially coming off Jonesboro, it really just feels like a wish Jonesboro. But Mom, can we get Jonesboro? Well, we've got Jonesboro at home.
We've got Jonesboro
at home.
Millridge.
That's what it felt like.
Such a poorly tuned FPO layout. And there's multiple MPO holes that were badly designed, unreachable, terrible hole 18.
What a stupid
for both
hole.
Divisions. It's a fine hole in concept, but it's not a good hole 18.
Nope.
And it was just mostly unreachable.
Yes.
For the weekend. Are we trying to watch players get it to 75 feet and pitch up? Was that good disc golf? Is that exciting? Come on. It's bad. It's the worst course on tour so far.
Yeah.
And it seriously needs major changes. And there's a couple awesome holes. Is it 13 that goes into the woods? The little you throw the big shot and then you throw into the gap with the basket deep in the woods gap.
That's right.
Great hole. Love that hole.
Yeah.
There is potential, but poorly tuned. Anyway,
you know what changes need to happen? Just needs to be changed to an A tier. That's the change that needs to happen.
Listen, I think a Nashville Pro Tour event makes sense. It's a great city.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great community of disc golfers there. They have the awesome sponsorship from Gibson. Like the guitar is sweet.
That's true.
The tournament organizers seem like they're very competent. It's just the course itself isn't good. It's really not representative of Tennessee disc golf. And it's like not that fun to watch. Like would people have even tuned in if we didn't have a crazy MPO final day lead card? I'm guessing the numbers were not great on the streams. It's just not a good course.
Yeah.
Not fun to watch. Okay. We're gonna do some quick hitters here before we get to our picks. But first, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna ask questions like, who in the top 10 of the Pro Tour standings is most likely to miss cash? Oof. Who outside the top 20 is most likely to win this tournament? We will answer those questions on the other side.
Pound's the best of the best. It's the quality, the craftsmanship, the vision for what a bag could be. Let's start from the beginning. I didn't choose Pound, I chose Levi. I trusted Levi to make the best bag possible.
He's always trying to innovate. He wants it to be perfect. And I think he's the kind of guy that nothing's ever perfect.
I trust the product, I trust the people behind the product.
At this point, I don't think anyone's disputing that it's the best made bag.
The Upshot is presented by Sunset Lake CBD, which is a farm that originally started as a dairy farm producing milk and cream for Ben & Jerry's, but in 2019, they diversified to keep up with the times and started growing hemp for CBD. This is just such a fantastic company. If you're looking for CBD products of any kind, gummies, lotions, brownies, they've got it all. They do so much great work in the community. They've donated over $100,000 to organizations that help striking workers make ends meet while on the picket line, expunging the records and supporting the reintegration of the war on drug victims, resettling refugees, and more. They believe that CBD shouldn't be a luxury. Sunset Lake CBD's vertically integrated farm allows them to provide affordable CBD products for everyone by cutting out the middleman. I've personally been loving their Relax gummies, which kind of just help you take the edge off after a long day, get to sleep, just hang out. It's a super nice, calming effect. So check it all out, sunsetlakecbd.com, and you can save 20% off your order with code UPSHOT. Again, 20% off with code UPSHOT at sunsetlakecbd.com. Welcome back to the Upshot. Time to ask some tough questions. And Josh, I teased it before we went to break. Let's start with this. Who do you think inside the top 10 of the Pro Tour standings is the most likely to miss cash at Champions Cup?
All right. Can we make? We're gonna
hear the top 10?
Yeah. Well, so my caveat. I can run through the top 10 if you'd like. The caveat is Simon Lizotte is not going to be picked here. He obviously is not playing.
Oh, of course.
So that's the one
My
caveat.
answer is Simon. Your top 10 in MPO, not including Simon. Anthony Barella, Gannon Burr, Nicholas Antila, Ricky Wysocki, Kyle Klein, Chris Dickerson, Calvin Heimberg, Luke Humphreys, and Ezra Robinson. And over in FPO, it is Kristen Tattar, Evelina Salonen, Owen Scoggins, Holland Hanley, Missy Gannon, Hannah Blomroos, Ella Hansen, Rebecca Cox, Valerie Mondahano, and Luca Lorenzen.
Man, I think there's one really, really, I think what would be the most obvious pick. I'll just give it to me. I think Luke Humphreys is most likely to miss cash. I know it's a boring pick. Luke typically plays well in the beginning half of the season. He plays well at Waco. He's made lead card a couple of times. It's kind of that open park style golf that he seems to really excel at. I'm not 100% sure what his but I know I have to go double check exactly what his Ledgestone finish is. But Luke Humphreys starts hot and always just starts going down as the season goes on, and so
his best finish ever at Ledgestone is 39th.
That's tough, man. Yeah, I mean Luke Humphreys has got to be my pick. If I take Luke Humphreys and you can't pick Luke Humphreys, who would your pick be then, Charlie?
Jeez. To miss cash, I think I'd say Calvin, just because of the forehand limitation.
Yeah.
The thing is, I really like him on this course, so I think most of those guys are going to do well here, including Calvin. I think he's going to do fine. I just don't think he's going to win. I think Luke Humphries is the obvious answer, but like Ezra Robinson, for instance, he plays great here. I love him in the woods.
Yep.
Dickerson looks sharp. Kyle and Ricky have been fantastic on Northwood. Nicholas, I just feel like this is a kind of course that he's going to excel on. And then Gannon and AB, like AB could be the answer, in fact, because of how he played here last year. But I think his game is like so significantly improved that I have a very hard time imagining him not finishing inside the top 25.
My answer, it might honestly be Nicholas. He's the only one who's missed cash in the top 10 this season, and he did it twice in a
just
row.
Just because he's had some slow tournaments. Fair.
He'll just when Nicholas gets in a funk, he doesn't get out of it. And so I agree.
He played great last weekend. He's fit.
And that's it. I really like. Well, yeah, but he won one Open at Austin, and then didn't finish inside the top 50 at Texas State's in Jonesboro the 2 weekends after.
Yeah,
and then he takes fifth, right? Like that's Nicholas. So I like him on this course. I don't think he's gonna miss cash, but if he spirals in the first 2 rounds, like he's not gonna recover.
All right, my answer in FPO is Henna Blomroos.
Okay, you think Henna
now
just blows
again?
Up?
I think it would be shocking pretty much if anybody in the top 10 missed cash. I think the player who's sort of like the standout kind of surprise right now is Rebecca Cox, but she's finished 3 straight top 10s.
She has.
And her putting looks really good. The problem for Henna is that her putting is not good, and I think this is a course that demands quality circle's edge and circle 2 putting, and that is not something that she's bringing to the table.
Sure.
So I think that's my answer, but how are you picking here, really? Like, I would be shocked if anybody missed cash from the top 10.
Yeah. One note, Rebecca Cox finished 41st at Ledgestone last year. So a rough performance. I'll take Valerie Mondahano. She finished 30th. And I just think that there's a chance that, she's won Idlewild, but she also has some poor performances in the woods. Another one of those players like Nicholas, I think it sets up well, but sometimes when Valerie spirals, she spirals hard. I
guess, but she's like a top 10 player at Northwood the last 2 years.
I know. So, yeah, I like Henna. I think Henna or Rebecca, probably. We don't have any data for the Europeans here besides Kristen. Well, both Charlie, Henna and Evelina have not played. Guess what? I got a question for you. Which European not named Kristen do you like best to win in either division? Because, as you pointed out, Europeans don't play this event. It comes right after the European Open and the European Swing. Yep. Most of them will just stay in Europe for the stretch over until they start getting to the Elite Plus or the playoffs, like D-Glow, MVP. And so we really don't get to see the Europeans hardly ever at Ledgestone. So, Charlie, MPO or FPO, I don't care. You pick one European who you like best to win. Either division. You only get one pick. Nicholas is your pick. Yeah, I think it's an easy pick. I think it's the kind of course that he can really shred on. And I just don't believe that Evelina or Hannah's putting is up to par in FPO. And Luca, she's a good player, but she can't win. Sure. You think the Nicholas? Ceiling. I can see the path for him to win. I think that's the obvious pick. But I I feel like I'm pulling a Charlie here when I know I really shouldn't. I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to do it anyway. Give me Henna here. Wow. And let me tell you why real quick. I just picked her to be the most likely to miss cash, and you want her to win. Ella Hansen last year was the best player from tee to green at 20 strokes. Missy being second at 16.31. Ella ended up losing by 5 strokes, but she went OB 5 times more than Missy did. Henna, I think that Henna could truly play so well from tee to green here that and just throw so much further and keep it between the lines that she may not have to putt all that often relative to her peers, which I think could minimize the strokes lost to putting. So Henna's my pick.
I love your confidence.
Henna preview. Henna is not on my podium though, so some confidence.
You're not, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now, who do you think somebody outside the top 20 that's most likely to win? I do think we almost should make it top 25 simply because Isaac Robinson is at 21 in FPO right now. And I think he would clearly be an easy pick considering how well he played at WR Jackson last year. So let's say top 25 because that eliminates both Andrew Marweed and Isaac Robinson.
Yep.
And so then where do you go from there?
Well, Charlie, it still gives me an easy pick for me. Give me Paul Macbeth.
Yeah, okay. Let's say no Paul. Paul is carved out.
All right. We're excluding Paul. Now this gets interesting. Man, I don't trust Kevin enough right now.
I have my answer. I'll give you my answer while you think.
Yeah, go.
My answer is Casey White. He's 37th.
Love that.
But I mean, he's been awesome in Northwood. It's a woods course.
Mm-hmm.
It's putter's course. Let's go.
That'd be so cool. Team Discmania, if Casey White wins this, we'll just like be laughing all the way to the bank. I mean, that would
not if they don't make some cool stamps.
Yeah, you're right. I was about to say they would, and I was like, why would they? They haven't done it yet. You're right. Fair. Give me Bradley Williams.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not looking
at
how he's played in previous years, but Bradley has a capacity to kind of like show up and pop off. He has won before, so he knows pressure situations, and he's got a really strong putter and mid-range game that I like a lot. So Bradley Williams is my pick.
All right. How about on the FPO side? I think we could probably do top 20 on this side.
I think that's probably okay. So that's I think 20 is a good line.
I got my answer.
I think I have mine, but I just have to verify where she is at. Go ahead, Charlie, while I'm looking.
While you check it out, my answer is Lisa Fakis.
Okay.
Who's sitting at 27th, but has skipped a bunch of tournaments. So like she's kind of like a fake 27th, but also she's been really good here.
Yeah. Okay.
She averages 65 here in 2022. That was tied with Kristen.
Wow.
And again, putter's course. This is not I mean, there are some power shots out there, but like I think putting is going to be the real separator. So I really like Lisa Fakis to have a good chance here.
Well, Charlie, if you think putting is a great separator, you're going to love this pick. Give me Silva Sarin.
I know you. I knew it. I knew it. She could actually be the answer to the European question.
She could.
I kind of neglected her in my mind.
I did too.
Is she playing?
Yeah, I think
she's playing. You checked?
I didn't check. Let's double check.
I'll check. She probably is. She is.
Okay. I'm changing Silva to my for the exact opposite reason of Henna. But I think I changed my European pick to Silva. I love Silva's chances here. She
I agree with that.
So well in Europe, which are wooded courses that are going to be more like this. She played really well. She's getting warm. She's been in the US. She's got 2 top 10 finishes in a row. I love Silva here. She is, I think, a legitimate chance to be on the podium at the end of this weekend.
I agree with that. Okay. Who is going to be on the lead card after the first 2 rounds, but then bomb and finish outside the top 10?
Definitely Calvin. just kidding. Not my real answer. In FPO, my answer's got to be Ella Hansen. She plays really well here, but I think Northwood has a way of exacerbating mistakes, and Ella succumbs to pressure quickly. And so I think Ella's could very well have the lead after 2 rounds, and I think the pressure's going to get to her. So Ella's my pick on the FPO side. I don't know if we're doing MPO and FPO, but that's who I think.
No, I think one pick is good. Okay. I think, what will I say? I'll say Joel Freeman.
Ooh, I love that pick.
I just, he's been pretty solid at Northwood.
Yeah.
But he's had a very inconsistent season, especially with the putter. I could definitely see him having a good start and then not having it go well after that.
Yeah. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, we got the kind of the course rundown yesterday. Weather looking a little shaky. Just to give you the updated weather stats, it's going to be beautiful on Thursday for round 1 tomorrow. No light winds, temperatures, sunny temperatures around mid 60s. But then we're going to have rain. It was almost guaranteed to have rain on Friday. Chances of rain all day Saturday. Likely rain on Sunday. We could have some thunderstorms as well. So it's going to be soggy. We could have delays. And players are going to have to be ready to play through adverse conditions, which Raincoat Ricky, baby. I mean, come on.
I'm really concerned that we have to alter this tournament in some way.
Because of what? Because of thunderstorms and the lack of light?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
this course
I hope
takes
you're wrong.
forever.
It is possible.
This course takes forever. If you get a weather delay, like hole 12, geez, it's going to suck.
There's a lot of cards to get through.
It is. And normally, and I asked this to Nate, and I wasn't terribly satisfied with the answer that he gave. But normally you have the divisions split and there are, only one division is at Northwood. Having to run both divisions. Now, the advantage that they have is that there's going to be a cut. And so Sunday, when there's most likely thunderstorms, likely that we're going to have less players. So is there a cut this year?
I assume there's a cut.
So help me.
I think there's generally a cut with 4-round events. Did they cut at Champions Cup last year?
That's what I'm pulling up right now.
Perfect. As you look that up, we're going to get ready to make our picks. We will be picking our top 3. You can always follow along with all the picks and make your own as an Ultiworld Disc Golf subscriber at discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks. I have taken the lead over Josh, but I'm still not out in front. Some subscribers have definitely surpassed me so far, but this is the week I get right. I'm going to go perfect podiums in both divisions, Josh.
I love it.
You
I love
heard it
the
here
confidence.
first.
Hey, real fast for you, Charlie. No cut last year.
Oh, God. Well, here's the thing. They will definitely cut if there's weather concerns.
So help me.
As they should.
As they should.
They should. I think they should have cuts after 2 rounds. I'm starting to come around to that point of view.
Yep.
I'm like, not at a tournament like this. I think it's fine to do 3 cut for the final only.
Final round cut.
I would also be okay with 2 and a cut, just like golf. But at regular 3-round Pro Tour events, I think they should cut after 2 rounds.
Yep, I agree.
Like, who is benefiting from the extra round? Like, I just don't think, like, you'll have more spectators and stuff for the final day. I think it makes getting rounds in easier if there are any weather issues. Mm-hmm. A lot of reasons to do it.
Yep.
All right, let's get into our picks. Josh, I'll let you decide whether you want to go first or second.
I will go second.
Okay, I will begin in FPO.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you right now, I've got the big 3 on the podium. The question is what order? Number 3, Owen Scoggins. Got that dog in her. Took the last weekend off, ready to go, in the woods. She's been awesome here in the past. I think she's going to be right there this weekend. In the 2 spot, I've got Kristen. That's right. Whoa. In the 1 spot, I've got Missy Gannon. Going 2 for 2 on majors to start 2024. This is her course. Come and take it. It's like the 1 spot where she's beaten Kristen heads up before what we saw last week.
Yep.
Or not last week, last month.
Yep.
At the U.S. Women's. I just love Missy's game here. She's gonna be bursting with confidence. She took the weekend off to get ready. I love the way she's playing this season. She's been awesome in the woods. Like it's a perfect setup for her to win.
You're right. I mean that is all fair. I also have the big 3. I really thought about changing it to put Silva on, but I feel like if I don't put Owen on the podium, I'm just giving away points, and I just am not going to disrespect the dog like that before a 4-round major. Owen Scoggins gets my 3 pick. I put Missy Gannon in the 2. I think Kristen is going to come and take it from her. Look, Kristen lost the major, and there was a level of emotion and like frustration with herself at bad shots at Music City Open, and a level of like openness to what Kristen was thinking, more so than we probably have ever seen. I think Kristen is still hungry, and you're going to see it this weekend, and she's going to show you why over 4 rounds she's the best in the business, and that's what I'm expecting from her this weekend.
That's it's the most logical pick. I will not lie. Josh, where are you going in MPO?
In MPO, give me Mr. Consistent Matty O in the 3 spot. I think he's just going to slide his way in. I think he's going to shoot well. He's never going to be in the lead. He's never going to be in contention for the lead, but he's going to finish up there on that podium. So give me Matty O in the 3 spot. Wood specialist, throwing a lot of putters. Give me the man who I also said may be the most likely to miss the cut, Nicholas Ontala in the 2 spot. Nicholas actually plays pretty well over 4 rounds, and if he can get off to a hot start, like I think Nicholas could really be challenging for the win. And while it feels disrespectful to leave Tricky Ricky off of my podium, give me the Macbeth special to run it back.
Oh my God. The Macbeth pick after one good weekend.
Give me Macbeth at number 1. I am going to look like a genius if this works. Paul plays well at Ledgestone. He is the king of 4-round events and majors. He plays well. He's got a forehand that I think looks better than I maybe have ever seen his forehand. Paul Macbeth takes it down in crappy conditions this weekend and gets another major.
All right. You want some facts?
I'm ready. Yeah, lay some facts on me.
Okay. 2023. Well, let's go before 2023.
Okay.
Absent injuries, Macbeth didn't miss the top 10 at a major since 2016. Now, he had that 64th place finish at USDGC when his ankle was messed up.
Yep.
He was 9th at Champions Cup in 2022. And then now last year, not great. But I mean, he got hurt. European Open, he finished 75th. I mean, he DNF'd.
Yeah.
He played Worlds, but he was hurt. He wasn't right. He finished 13th.
Yeah.
Champions Cup, can't give any injury excuses. He was 20th. But my point is this. W.R. Jackson, I'm not sure quite what's going on there because we saw him lay down monster rounds.
Yes.
He seems like he often hasn't kind of like gotten his game up to readiness by Champions Cup in the past. I mean, he was going to skip this event initially.
Right.
I think he's more focused on being ready to play this year. And I think that's why you've seen him taking a lot of time, getting better every week, practicing a ton. And that he comes together last week. I don't think it's crazy, Josh. I don't think it's crazy. Nobody is a better majors player in the history of the damn sport than Macbeth.
Yep.
He is not on my podium. In the 3 spot, I have what is certainly going to come across as a shocking pick. I'm guessing that he has never been on a podium in a major. I'm going to check right now. He's never even been in the top 10 at a major.
Wow.
That said, his best major finish ever was at the previous major, USDGC in 2023, where he finished 15th.
Okay.
That player is Andrew Marweed.
Love that pick.
Marweed has been excellent at Northwood.
Yes.
Number 1. He's been maybe better than you might have expected this season. He's got a 6th place finish at Open at Austin.
Oh.
He's got a 13th place finish in Music City Open. These are not necessarily courses that I think favor him. Northwood, putting time. Let's go to work, Andrew.
Love it.
Number 2 spot, Kyle Klein. He's been a rock at this event historically. A little concerning, perhaps, that he dropped out of Music City Open, and he's not been sharp the last couple weeks. But he was 2nd at Open at Austin, and then he was 10th, and then he was 27th, and then he DNF'd. So, a little sketchy, but I think the focus is on getting ready for this Champions Cup tournament, and I think he's going to be very confident playing out here. In my 1 spot, I got to go Rick. He's due.
Mm-hmm.
He's a beast on Northwood over 4 rounds. I love his chances. I think of the heavy hitters, he's the best position to win Champions Cup?
Not only that, like we talked about, like I think this is Rick's best chance to get a major, and I bet he knows it. I love the pick. I love the Ricky pick.
All right. So those are our picks. They're in the books. We got some bets in the books as well. Shoot us your thoughts over at upshot@ultiworld.com and join us Saturday morning for a rounds 1 and 2 react show. And then again, Sunday night following the tournament and the final round. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Josh, I have 2 weddings this weekend. So I'm going to just be honest and tell you that I might not be able to watch everything, but I will do my best to catch up, and I'll watch the highlights if I miss stuff.
Okay. I'll be watching quite a bit. I left my weekend open, so.
You barbecuing again?
More like yard work this week. gotta get ready for spring. So I'll probably throw some things.
Seed the yard, fertilizer, stuff like that.
Get the garden. We're gonna till the garden.
Till the garden.
Yeah, level the yard.
Level the yard.
Yeah. Like
you have to do that every year?
Not every year. It's been neglected for a couple years, so it's time to get some. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Green thumb, Josh, out here.
Right.
I'm gonna water my houseplants here in New York. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy Champions Cup. We'll talk to you Saturday morning. If you're a subscriber, now's the time. Jump in. Double reacts this week. Talk to you then.